Martha Yurnet had rented a modest 3-bedroom townhouse from Ms. Mitchell for a little over 2 years. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. The place offered a fresh start for Martha and her 4 children, a chance to live in a better area with safer streets and stronger schools. The rent was steep, $750 a month, but Martha had always paid on time. She took pride in being responsible, even when things got hard. Life as a single mother wasn't easy, but she managed. When June 30th came around, it was time to move out. Boxes filled the hallway, and Martha's kids ran back and forth, helping their mother pack the last of their belongings. The family planned to hand over the keys the next morning after one last cleaning. The carpet still needed to be professionally washed, something Martha wanted to do to stay in good standing with her landlord. But before she could finish, Ms. Mitchell showed up unexpectedly that evening. According to Martha, the landlord became impatient and refused to allow a final walkthrough. By the next morning, the locks had been changed. Martha stood outside the townhouse, holding her key that no longer fit. She felt helpless and insulted. All she wanted was to return the place properly and collect her $850 deposit, money she desperately needed to start her next chapter. When her calls went unanswered, Martha filed a claim in small claims court. That's how both women found themselves standing before Judge Judy. The courtroom was quiet when the case began. Judge Judy, known for her sharp wit and no-nonsense attitude, looked over the paperwork. "Ms. Yurnet, you were a tenant of Ms. Mitchell's for about 2 years?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. 2 years and 3 months," Martha answered. The story unfolded steadily. Judge Judy confirmed that rent had always been paid and that there were no major issues during the tenancy. But Ms. Mitchell, the landlord, had filed a counterclaim for $5,000 in alleged damages. That number made the judge raise an eyebrow. "I'd like to see before and after pictures," Judge Judy demanded. Ms. Mitchell hesitated. "I don't have before pictures," she said, explaining that her computer hard drive had crashed. "But I do have after pictures." The judge leaned forward. "That doesn't tell the whole story." Martha watched silently as Ms. Mitchell handed over a thick stack of photos, carpets, walls, blinds, even a closet door. Judge Judy flipped through them quickly, unimpressed. "Most of these are just carpet," she said. "And you told me you had it professionally cleaned for $150. Ms. Mitchell nodded. "Yes, but I wasn't satisfied with the cleaning." "That's not the tenant's problem," Judge Judy replied sharply. "You can't charge someone for your dissatisfaction." The landlord tried to defend herself. She explained that the carpet had been left dirty, the blinds were broken, and the walls were full of holes. But when pressed for details, her claims began to unravel. The carpet had been old before Martha moved in, and Ms. Mitchell herself admitted she had cleaned it personally back then. There were no records showing when it was installed. Judge Judy reminded her that as a landlord, she was responsible for repainting and normal wear and tear between tenants. "You can't expect brand new walls and carpet after 2.5 years, she said. "That's not how it works." The real debate came when Ms. Mitchell presented photos of holes in the wall. "I charged her $75 a hole to have them patched," she said confidently. The judge frowned. "That's ridiculous." Martha's oldest son stood up to clarify. "Your Honor, one of those holes was there when we moved in. I patched it myself before we left." Judge Judy examined the photo closely. "You didn't do a good job," she said honestly. "But it's clear the repair was already there. You can fix something like that yourself with a little plaster and a butter knife. It doesn't cost $75 a hole." The tension in the courtroom lightened for a moment as laughter rippled through the audience. Even Judge Judy cracked a smile. But then she turned serious again. "You can't charge your tenant for every small imperfection, Ms. Mitchell. That's the cost of doing business." By now, the story was clear. Martha had lived responsibly, paid her rent, and left the place in reasonable condition. The landlord, however, seemed determined to turn minor issues into a profit. Judge Judy took a breath, leaned forward, and delivered her decision. "She gets back $650 of her deposit," she ruled firmly. "Your counterclaim is dismissed," Martha smiled with relief. It wasn't the full $850, but it was justice. Ms. Mitchell, on the other hand, looked frustrated but defeated. The gavel came down, and the case was closed. Outside the courtroom, Martha spoke softly to her children. "We did the right thing," she said. "That's all that matters." And that was the heart of it, integrity versus pride. Judge Judy's courtroom had once again become a mirror for human nature. The episode wasn't really about carpets, holes, or security deposits. It was about fairness and accountability. It showed how easily people can twist small inconveniences into accusations, and how truth, when spoken plainly, has a quiet power of its own. Ms. Mitchell might have thought she was protecting her property, but what she really lost that day was credibility. Martha didn't just win part of her deposit. She walked away with her dignity intact, and a life lesson reinforced in front of millions of viewers. Sometimes justice isn't loud. It's steady, logical, and delivered with a calm voice that cuts through excuses. Judge Judy, as always, saw through the noise. She reminded everyone in the room that fairness doesn't come from anger or authority. It comes from balance, reason, and the willingness to see both sides clearly. When the camera faded to black, the audience knew they had just witnessed more than a landlord-tenant dispute. They'd seen the real essence of everyday justice, a moment where honesty triumphed over exaggeration and common sense prevailed. For Martha Yurnet, that day wasn't just about 650. It was about respect, and about proving that even in a small courtroom, truth still matters. And for viewers across America, it was one more unforgettable reminder that in Judge Judy's world, nobody talks over the truth.